introduction on how we will proceed today. I will be wearing two hats, and for 5 minutes I will become a panelist, because one of the moderator was, due to unavoidable reasons, could not be here. So the content that I have to present, I will become a panelist at that point. But I'd like to introduce our panelists that come from a varied background, and that is something that we did intentionally. Zofeen Ebrahim is a Karachi-based freelance journalist and has written extensively on climate change, water, energy, renewables, sanitation, health, and disease, and how they impact our lives. She contributes to the national English dailies like Dawn and The News, and international media outlets, including Interpress Service, The Guardian, The Third Pole, Index on Censorship, and the Thomson Reuters Foundation. Thank you for being with us, Zofeen. Dr. Usman Nazir is a prominent research scientist specializing in AI, remote sensing, and environmental data analysis. He currently serves as group head at the Center for AI Research at Beacon House National University in Lahore. His academic journey includes a split-side PhD in computer science and from the University of Leeds and Lums, where he developed efficient techniques for spatial and spatiotemporal analysis in remote sensing and AI algorithms. Dr. Usman has been affiliated with the University of Oxford and the University of Leeds, where he worked on projects ranging from poverty mapping to optimizing vehicle emissions. Thank you for being with us, Dr. Usman. Aarish Sardar is a design educator, writer, and a curator. The bottom line of all happenings in the world emerge from the creative source. He leads the Department of Visual Communication and Design at the Mariam Daud School of Visual Arts at BNU in Lahore. He has a master's in multimedia arts and another master's in communication design from Kingston University, London. He has been an associate producer at GOTV as well. So I think to set the stage, we're going to run a very short video just to put things into context, and then we can start the conversation after that. Thank you. Thank you. I think we're all quite familiar with the almost irreversible degradation of the environment that we're facing as we speak, which is rising exponentially faster than ever before. Can we have the slide, please? The next slide. Okay, so we had a question mark before this slide. And I think that the prescriptive nature, the diagnostic nature of this conversation at the moment will always leave us with a question mark. And the question mark is, what are we doing, how are we doing it, and how do we harness AI into a positive direction for climate justice, for positive impacts on ground. I put this slide in because I want all of us to stop before we start the conversation on climate and environment and sustainability. When John Lennon, this is a photograph of John Lennon, when he was 5 years old, he went to school and his teachers asked him what he wanted to be when he grew up. And he said, happy. And the teacher said, you did not understand the assignment, John. And John Lennon, at the age of 5, said, you did not understand life. And I think this little excerpt really sums up the fact that in a very fast evolving world, sometimes the conditioning and the perception that we are made to believe is both dangerous and it desensitizes the human to what we are actually looking for in life. When we talk of sustainability and climate change, it is for people. Cities are for people. And if people are not happy and do not have clean water and can't breathe, then there is no point in any kind of progress. You will never have economic progress if people are not happy. So I think the pursuit of happiness, when we talk, and we will be talking about this a little more, the consciousness of humankind, the emotional quotient of a human being, the ability to have creative compassion for things. And then we talk of AI, which is a machine that we feed data into. How does this synergize? How will it interact? So I'll just take a couple of minutes to set the stage here. So humanity, we believe today, is in an existentialist conundrum. It's at a place where we really are not sure of the directions, but we can see them. We can see that AI can be a double-edged sword, or it can be the greatest benefit to mankind. So there is a big question mark here. And there is an elephant in the room which has become way too big, and we need to resolve this with positive action on ground. Our collective survival lies in deconstructing the conditioned narratives that we've been given. So as lawyers, architects, historians, thinkers, engineers, and just plain human beings, we need to stop and ask ourselves, is the world in 2024 a happier place? And that is the question that we will keep on asking throughout our deliberation today. I just want to say that the human being has 7 trillion nerves in the body, 7 trillion nerves, which is an electrical wiring system which gives us intuition, creativity, human intelligence, and consciousness. AI, with all its incredible, magical ability to do things, has 16 million neurons, 16 million today. The human mind has 100 billion neurons today. So we're looking at 100 billion to 16 million. And in that 16 billion, a million, which is a very small percent, AI is already, people are talking about AI taking over the world. The ability of AI at 16 million neurons is incredible. There is another fact that Einstein had an IQ of 165. AI today has an IQ of 300. Every 18 months, the IQ of AI will double. Every 18 months. So if it has if it has the ability to, if it is at 300, it will go to 600, and then it will evolve to 1,000 and 2,000. But the human mind will still remain at 165. So if we're looking at a machine that we have created with 10,000, the ability to rise to 10,000, whereas we are still at 165, the question is, what's going to happen then? Is the machine going to be so fast? Will it have developed consciousness or not? So progress and development, what we are perceived to believe, has to be recalibrated and reprogrammed, even for the human to be able to understand how to put the codes, the AI codes, into our generative systems. Just 2 minutes to tell you that we're witnessing a radically transforming world where geostrategic players and geopolitical pivots are radically changing the world order. But there is more to it. Less than 1%, we emit less than 1% of world emissions. But we are amongst the 7 most vulnerable countries in the world to be affected by global emissions. We live in an unpredictable world, which is causing pressure. It's not just about climate, it's not just about rain and breathing. It will cause pressure on food security, creating unprecedented pollution, water areas. We're already in the red zone for water. We have no water in Pakistan anymore. Flooding, glacial melts, economic losses, GDP, and threatening life on the planet. Climate and weather-related disasters in Pakistan resulted in $29 billion of economic loss, which is 11% of the GDP. So the cycle of what's happening to us is very important to understand, is integrally related. In 2022, when we had the floods, the damage to the country, the mitigation measures and the damage exceeded $30 billion, which is 8% of our GDP. So we're talking of real shifts in our economy, in the social order, in the way we define our lives and our cities, and lack of basic needs and infrastructure. So the world belongs to the people. And this is a public trust. And in every constitution in the world, people have a right to life. Article 9 of the Constitution of Pakistan gives everyone a right to life, a right to breathe, a right to clean water. Urbanization by 2050, we will have 70% of the population living in urban areas. In 2019, air pollution cost $8.1 trillion globally. I mean, these figures are mind-boggling. We look at we look at the trees and forget to see the forest. But these figures are mind-boggling because they will completely destroy life as we know it. The GDP decline by 2050 due to climate change will be 20% more. Today we are paying 1 billion rupees a day for climate change mitigation. So where are we? We don't have food, we don't have electricity, our integrated mobility systems lack just the basic needs, and we are talking of 1 billion rupees a day in climate mitigation. So these are things that we need to think about and that we will be discussing today, and we would love to have your questions on this. Having said this, and before I start with Aarish Sardar, I'd just like to say that on the other side, AI's potential to address environmental issues is huge. With advanced robotics, machine learning, and AI-driven models, we can tackle some of the biggest sustainability challenges in the world. Using AI-generated simulations for climate impact, mapping pollution areas, and identifying hotspots can reverse them very, very quickly. So we will be talking about this debate on how to harness the positive side of AI today. And of course, there will be many questions on the dark side of the web. I'd like to start by requesting to lay the context on a broader perspective. I'd like to invite Aarish Sardar to talk a little about the genesis, the projections, how did we start thinking about all this? Why did we not just remain doing farmland, having crops, doing the barter system? What created the need for the human to develop something like AI, and how were we conditioned as the human race to come to this? Dr. Aarish?
Thank you very much, Imrana. And thank you very much, everyone, listening to our discussion. I would start with Mirza Ghalib said once, "Aate hain ghaib se ye mazami khayal mein." So from where do these thoughts, these fictional thoughts, speculative thoughts, of artificial and other intelligence like come from? So there is a genre when we watch films and we read fiction, right? It can be written in Urdu, it can be bilingual, multilingual. So speculative fiction is a genre. And it is known as literature of ideas, right? If you just see on the screen, there are 3 films. One from 1951, Flight to Mars. So there was no AI at that time, right? Only the thought process. Someone might have come up with this fictional narrative, written. A director must have come up with the idea that I want to make this film even in the absence of technological advancement and film now we see, because we see VFX and we see all these kind of facilitation, the computational facilitation, because we do have sophisticated softwares and everything. In 1951 it wasn't there, but they tried their level best and set up an example that coming generations, filmmakers, creative practitioners, they would be able to kind of create wonderful examples and case studies and precedents. So, and then Star Wars, we have seen R2-D2 there, the robot. It was there in the 1970s, right? iPads, iPhones, they were there in Star Wars. Nobody could have thought about in 70s whether they would be the actual devices, the black mirror, right? We would be holding in our hands and we will be enjoying, looking at things, and naturally, of course, generative AI and other new technologies, tools and technologies. And then there is a Knight Rider in the 80s, right? There was a car called KIT, right? And KIT was empathy-driven machine. It used to listen to Michael Knight and advise to him, they're like, what would be the next step, or what could be the best next step, right? So these kind of machines we have been seeing and experiencing through the visual culture. But when it comes to the material culture, and when we think about speculative fiction, let me introduce very quickly empathy-driven design thinking. We must be, we must strive to think design-wise. हमें ये सोचना चाहिए कि एक जहाज उल्टा क्यों नहीं लैंड कर सकता? Because these people must have thought about this going to Mars and all these. Of course, Elon Musk has tried it, and then of course, like later on, many. But we need to pose questions to the existing knowledge pool, right? And that is why scientists have been able to come up with generative AI, right? Or AI itself, the artificial intelligence, though it is very artificial, to be honest. As Imrana said, of course, 600 million neurons, in fact, like one in us. Okay, so let me show you the design thinking started not recently, but fairly recently in like from Stanford D School, which is like short form of design school, which is a top-notch design school in America. So and there is another school like there's another university, MIT. So I'll show you one of the case study. So please watch.
Reaches more than 80% in Metro Manila.
As air pollution levels in the British
we should see a huge environmental impact.
According to the World Health Organization, even trigger lung
And so Delhi, they're once again topping the pollution chart.
situation in
Imagine
the
the air being so dirty.
Air ink is about capturing air pollution before it enters the environment from your cars, from your trucks, from your diesel generators that are spitting out this particulate matter, and then converting that into inks of various sorts.
We did the initial research and prototyping for this idea at the MIT Media Lab. For the last 3 years, we have been getting our hands dirty on the roads of Bangalore to solve this problem. After we are done capturing air pollution, we take it through a purification process, and then we treat it with solvents to create printing inks.
Developing new ways to be able to paint and create without the negative effect on nature is an awesome idea. I'm so into it.
There's so much pollution that just half an hour can paint an entire pair of shoes.
I'm excited to work with something, an ink that will merge both together, beauty and environmental awareness, a way to advance humanity and to save the space around us.
At Graviki, we started as a small group of hackers applying science, technology, and creativity to solve hard problems. We thought, how can we take something that's totally undesirable, ugly, and as bad as air pollution and turn it into something beautiful, something that everyone uses, as common as inks.
So every stroke on paper that you make is essentially a quantification of that particulate matter you would have otherwise breathed in when you're walking outdoors.
By backing us, you help us scale our pollution capture technology and bring air ink to as many people as possible.
What's the best place for this carbon soot to go? Is it your lungs, or is it something like inks that we make?
So it clearly shows that there is a hope within us, right? We can train generative AI and AI models through deep machine learning, right? Using multiple softwares. I don't need to discuss softwares here, but there is a possibility that this kind of positive attitude and this kind of optimistic views can be fed into machines, right? And it will, generate multiple ideas for us to kind of survive and thrive, right? So, if I go to the next slide, it's possible, right? So, this is one of the best example I've seen while traveling. This is High Line project in New York, which is 38th Street, and it goes through multiple other streets and broadways. So it was abundant railway station, right? Railway line. Because in 1960s, they were factory workers, because they were like warehouses in New York, this part of New York. And then since the industry and the warehouses and all of that phenomena, was shifted to China for the, mass-produced industries, then these kind of warehouses, they got empty. And this railway track, this track was shut down. And it was lying there, like, uselessly, right? So few of the architects who were environmentalists, as well as, they cared about the environment, and they cared about, so rather than just like, taking this kind of railway track off the grid, they just like converted and transformed into a track, which is a beautiful track, and you can just like take a walk, and there are pop-up shows, there are like artworks displayed by the artists, like on 6 monthly basis and all. And so I believe like this is the power of the idea. The ideation is so powerful, and this kind of positive, thinking pattern is a direct outcome of empathy-based design thinking, right? So yeah, so please.
Thank you so much, Aarish. I think that all these examples are clearly defining the trajectory that we need to take. There are always, the path is always a forked one. And I think we need to focus all our energy and our consciousness and empathy and our knowledge on positive, climate-driven action on ground. Because at the moment, as I mentioned earlier, we cannot afford Planet B, and Planet A is disintegrating very, very fast. So thank you for giving us the genesis of where the conditioning and the generation and the incentive for thought like this. I'd just like to, we had our moderator could not be here today, and I will be wearing the hat of a panelist for a few minutes. And I'd like to share with you something very, very exciting that we are doing at Beacon House National University in Lahore. So this is a trailblazing, milestone intervention where, may we have the slides, please? Oh, I'm sorry. After this, I'll talk about the BNU. Thank you. May we have, yes. So I just want to take, we have a very detailed vision and integrated strategic framework that we have put together for the first time in Pakistan, and we're proud to share that Beacon House National University is going to be Pakistan's first green university. we have developed a vision and an integrated strategic framework with a very detailed work plan. We have about 100 slides. I will not be able to go through those, but just to let you know briefly what our vision is and how we're rolling it out. May we have the next slide, please? So this is the vision that we developed. BNU aspires to be a leading world-class university that transcends the frontiers of knowledge. As Pakistan's first green university, Pakistan's first WWF Green Certified Eco Smart Campus, Pakistan's first hub of excellence through the Green Environment Center, which is a living lab, a green experience center for climate change, environment, and sustainability. We are committed to creating an outstanding, unique, and innovative platform that offers a shared model for collective, inclusive, and equitable solution-based climate action. Now, this is a program that rolls out, which will be BNU-led, but it is rolling out at an inter-provincial level, starting from Balochistan, going across the provinces to GB, the frontier, to SWAT, and we hope that we can have a collaborative charter, a BNU-led charter which we have made, which everyone can sign off on. We have international collaborations here with Harvard and MIT and Columbia University and the UN, the Sustainable Development Solutions Network. So this is something that we have created, and we are at the initial stage of rolling this out as we speak. Next, please. This is the strategic framework, which has 3 domains. The first is amplifying action, campus, and communities. The second is mobilizing knowledge for action. And the third and most important one is walking the talk in our operations, which is the targets that we have set as a university to create a model that can be replicated not only nationally, but internationally, where we talk of no plastic, we talk of net zero, we talk of the reducing our waste, and this is something that we can share with you later, but this is a basic. May we have the next one, please? No, isse pehle jo thi. Isse, haan. This is some of the certifications that we have with WWF and other international organizations. Next, please. And we hope that BNU can actually become a green and sustainable oasis within Lahore. Next, please. Aakhri lain. Theek hai. Thank you so much. We can talk about this more, but we wanted to share this initiative with all of you, and we would like your support as a collective to be able to get everyone's opinion on the charter and be able to change policy as we speak. Next, please. I'd like to, as we roll out, Dr. Nazir, who is heading the AI department at BNU in Lahore, is now involved in doing some databasing and simulations for various climate interventions. Dr. Saab, if you could just tell us briefly about the work that you're doing.
Yeah, Assalamu alaikum. So, can you hear me? So, in the Center for AI Research, we are working on many threads, but these are 4 related to the sustainability and climate change. The first one is we are designing the AI agents to optimize the carbon footprints. For example, we are implementing the AI agents in the labs of the BNU so that the compute intensive tasks can be run at using renewable energy sources so that we can optimize the greenhouse gases and NOx emissions. The second one, on the right side of the slide, we are working on the illegal killing activity during smog period. And On the left side of the slide, we are also working on the flood mapping and the damage assessment. For example, in the recent flood in Sindh, we did the damage assessment of crops and urban built-up in province Sindh. And we are also working on the global burden of disease using Earth observation indicators. So let me briefly tell you about the predicting Earth observation from Earth observation indicators. So how we can predict the global burden of disease. So we are working this project in collaboration with the University of Oxford. So for example, I will tell you this in a story way. For example, you are looking at a city or at Pakistan from a top view. You have the aerial view of the Pakistan, and as you can see from some trusted source or demographic health survey data, we have the number of patients which are suffering from breathing problems. For example, they have asthma or सांस की बीमारी which are related to respiratory infection, and we have the hotspots of these respiratory infection patients. So this is the starting point of our recent research. So we wanted to know the source of these breathing problems. So using the latest satellite imagery, the tropomy sensor, we actually analyze the air quality or the gaseous indicators on those hotspots where we have more breathing problems. So as you can see in the Lahore, we have more greenhouse gases and NOx emissions. We did this analysis for the whole South Asia region, and we have find out that where there are more breathing problems or respiratory infection, there are more these gaseous indicators, NOx emissions and the greenhouse gases emissions. So then we answer the question that what are the sources of these gaseous emissions. We use the satellite imagery to predict the sources of that air pollution and the gases emissions. So we find out that using the AI classification model and the detection model, we actually find out the brick kiln and the factory chimneys are the main sources of these gaseous indicators which are causing the breathing problems in the hotspot regions. So this our research gained attention, and the University of Leeds actually highlight this our research, which is the sources of the air pollution we can find out using the satellite imagery. So if you are interested in detail of the paper, you can see our paper is published in ICLR Tackling Climate Change. So the second thread which I want to discuss briefly is the urban green spaces. So for example, as you can see from in the Lahore, actually we have the satellite imagery available from 1990 till today, and we can predict the green spaces using that satellite imagery, because the barren land and the green spaces pixels have different spectral properties, and this imagery is freely publicly available. For example, I did this analysis using AI model for the Lahore. If you see the green spaces detection, so the red region represents the built up area in the Lahore. So I uses AI classification model to classify each pixel, because the pixel, if its pixel is related to the built up area, the built up area has specific spectral properties. And similarly, the dark green pixel representing the crops and the trees, we can use the AI model to actually count the trees or to count the housing. So we did this analysis of the urban green spaces and the deforestation trend and the urbanization. We can use the AI model to actually find out the construction trend and the deforestation trend. We did this analysis for the Changamanga forest and for the Islamabad from 2000 till today, because this satellite imagery is freely publicly available. You just have to do the data acquisition and wrangling the imagery to train the machine learning model.
जी डॉक्टर साहब, अब थोड़ा टाइम कम है, आप वो दिखाएंगे the impact, the positive impact of if we reverse this with the data, जो लाहौर का data आपने किया था, जो 2024 में आ गया.
So I think this is all about.
Thank you so much. I think this is just a very short sample of the power of generative AI algorithms, which we are using at BNU University Lahore through the Center of Climate Change, Environment and Sustainability, and working with Dr. Saab to be able to actually predict कि दरख्त कहाँ. We know कि लाहौर में पिछले 10 साल में 75% ग्रीन कवर और दरख्त ख़त्म हो गए. If we are able to generate spaces in the city today, we in 1 year can reverse the degradation in the city. We can reduce the pollution because we know कि अगर हम इतने दरख्त 2 साल या 1 साल में इन open spaces में डाल लें जो AI ने हमें दिखाया है, तो ये climate change will be reversed. So this is the power of the burden of disease, how to identify it. It is now at your fingertip. And I think that this is the greatest and strongest tool for climate action today, for national policies and for policies worldwide. And this is something that the model that we are creating, inshallah, we hope to lead in creating a climate action model that we can share, which we will start with Beacon House University, Lahore. It's a 32-acre lot, and it will be turned into a green oasis as a model. And we will then begin to generate in other areas in the city at the national level. Thank you so much for the projections. Zofeen, I think from a different point of view, you write about the environment and climate, and you've been writing for many years internationally and locally. In your view, how do you feel AI can help in mitigating and in bringing about positive climate change, climate action?
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I am not a scientist, I'm not a design thinker, I'm just a journalist. Before coming to this event, I asked ChatGPT if a GLOF event, which is the glacial lake outburst, if it can predict faster than a human scientist. And the bot tha, she told me, they told me actually, that yes, it can. Very respectfully, it told me that it can. And it gave me 5 reasons why it is saying that. उसमें से एक था data volume. बहुत ज़्यादा होता है, so a human scientist would take much longer. Pattern recognition, जल्दी कर लेता है, but स्पीड बहुत ज़्यादा होती है उनकी. इंटीग्रेटेड अगर उनको इमेजरी मिले थ्रू meteorology, hydrology and geospatial, तो it can come up with accurate maps. And consistency, even if the data is so much data sets, it can still come up with certain predictions. But in the end, it's the human being who has to decide. So I will play the devil's advocate here, as journalists are always wary of scientists and scientific inventions and scientific conclusions. I'll say that देखिए अभी वेलेंसिया में इतना बड़ा deluge आया through rainfall. हम तो अभी पाकिस्तान में हैं. In Valencia, in Spain, so 200 people died, but जो नुकसान urban infrastructure को हुआ, that was immense. If they had an early warning system, it apparently didn't work. Why? My question is why it didn't work. It didn't work because early warning system जिन लोगों को ज़रूरत थी उन तक पहुंचा नहीं शायद. और दूसरा ये था कि early warning system के साथ साथ you need action, early action that didn't reach either, with the result that so much damage and destruction happened. I would say that if you are forewarned, you should be forearmed, and it didn't. So in the end, however much we say about AI and AI being able to do so much, if the human being is not able to use that tool, या वो train नहीं कर रहा equally to the AI assistant, then all of this will come to naught. I have a few notes. Like, I wanted to talk about AI as a journalist tool, if I may, because आप लोगों ने सब बहुत मुश्किल बातें की हैं. I wanted to, I thought, I was using AI when I didn't even know the term existed. I was using it as a virtual, would put my photograph on my phone and use it for virtual haircuts and makeup. But I didn't know this was AI. ये term तो मुझे अभी आप लोगों सबसे पता चला है कुछ थोड़े महीने पहले कि AI क्या कुछ climate change के लिए भी कर सकता है. And really, truly speaking, climate change, the topic has taken the news cycle की space बहुत ज़्यादा ले ली internationally and even nationally. मुझे लगता है कि we are using this space a lot more than maybe 10 years ago. With the result that a climate journalist like me, and I write on other things as well, so I am, I have so much information to grapple with, so many maps, so many images, that and data as well, that मेरे पास इतना time नहीं है. So as a journalist, what should I do? I will, if I turn to AI as as a facilitator, as a supporter, it can help me in information gathering, fact checking, interviews preparation. Then data analysis, it can help me with data analysis, because अगर आपके पास deadline है, you may not have sources to go to. And also for illustrations and maps, I can go to generative AI that you mentioned, Google, Gemini, etc., etc. Now this particular AI is is very, very essential for people like me if we're doing some, say, infrastructure project that I want to write on. In South Asia and in Pakistan as well, if you want to write on, say, the Orange Train, or you want to write on an airport that is being built in Gwadar, or you want to write about a motorway that is CPEC ki help se ban raha hai, we do not get information itna easily from the government. And that is why I feel that AI can be very, very helpful and, find us that information. And that, of course, this information has to be fact-checked by human beings. It is not that aap AI pe rely karen, AI will give you all accurate information. It hallucinates also, as I learned this new term. If you feed in the information, it may come up with a model which is inaccurate. So, you have to use this tool very, very responsibly. I'll take one more minute. That editors ko kya, yes?
Ji. 1 minute.
Yeah, 1 minute. Editors, I spoke as a journalist, but as an editor also, this is like really helpful in content creation. आपको बहुत जल्दी churn out करना पड़ता है if you're on a website. It minimizes workloads. Now, sometimes reports are coming from the district, and I'm talking about an English newspaper, newsroom. आपको क्या करना पड़ रहा है कि आपको वो जो content आ रहा है, that is good content, but the style is not right for your newspaper, or there are certain elements that are missing. So you can use generative AI to kind of उसको paraphrase करे, उसको ठीक करे, उसको summarize करे. So it enhances the storytelling and it creates compelling visuals for you.
Gee, thank you. I think we're short of time. The bottom line here is that AI can be a double-edged sword, and we all know that. We are seeing it in the world today. But the trajectory that we as humans want to take is to use all the energy we have to get whatever good we can get out of AI in terms of data and predicting the future, and begin to reverse the degradation that we face today. I mean, Lahore, the life expectancy in Lahore has been reduced by 8 years. People cannot breathe. There's a health emergency. The water is toxic. The food chain is now carcinogenic. So when we started, we said, does everyone want to be? Everyone wants to be happy. But if you don't have these basic needs, so I think the powerful tool of AI data generation, simulation, and predictive futures need to be harnessed today and used immediately for climate action. And Zofeen is right when she says that people have to do it. So the lobby and can only be done if we have the facts and we have the solutions. So we have all the facts now and we have all the solutions now. And we have the predictive diagnostic a cure to this. So we can go ahead and reverse our policies, go to the government, have the corporate, the private, the public sector, everyone involved. And this is not impossible. So there's a lot of hope as we speak in harnessing the energy of this incredible, I mean, it's mind-boggling that currently it has 16 million neurons, AI, and we have 100 billion. And the IQ level of AI every 18 months is going to double from 300, whereas Einstein will remain at 165, an IQ of 165. So I don't know where we're heading, but it is important to harness this energy in a positive way so that we can get the best results for humanity and for this planet. Thank you. I think we've got very little time. Can we have some questions here? How would you like to define the difference between a sustainability reboot and a sustainability assessment? Okay. Are there any other questions, or can? Okay. Yeah, can we go? In what way can AI support the circular economy? You want to do this?
Thank you. Yes, I think in this questions response, I can share one of the exhibition which I saw in Design Museum London. It was titled Waste Age, right? And it was all about upcycling, that what we can do with the term, with the exercise, with the workshop of upcycling, how we can reuse and then reclaim waste. So I think AI won't support you or us like as humans. Automatically, we would have to come up with the right questions, the right prompts. When we just like type in ChatGPT or whatever the software you would use, you would have to learn prompt engineering, right? Yes, that AI will introduce newer forms of upcycling exercises, right? And then eventually, once everyone knows from class 1 to, like a university student, that like what circular economy is and what is the power of upcycling and reusing. Yeah. So, yeah, I think we can
do one more question. We have 3 minutes? Okay. इससे पहले जो था, what's the difference between sustainability? अच्छा, I think the question was, what is the difference between आपके पास question 3 please.
Question number 3.
Between sustainability reboot and sustainability. I think it's exactly the same thing. We cannot have a reboot. Reboot means a reconfiguration of the system. So we cannot have a reboot without the assessment, right? So पहले तो हम baseline data लेंगे. हमारा सेंसस, डॉक्टर उस्मान मुझे कह रहे थे कि 2017 के बाद हमारा सेंसस ही नहीं हुआ डिजीज़ पे, राइट? अब we don't have to wait for the census, right? We don't need to wait for governance systems that are ineffective. We can go to AI, put in an algorithm, get the data, predict the future and do it. अब हम डिपेंडेंट नहीं हैं उन सिस्टम्स पे जो कि हमें वीक गवर्नेंस की वजह से entangle kar dete the in bureaucratic red tape, right? Suddenly we have a tool that, but of course, at the end of the day, wo karna to insaan ne hai, right? We have 1 minute left, and I think that here the mindset of humankind has to change, and the only way to do it is to have the solution, have the data, go to the government and the private sector, tell them to have public-private partnerships, and just get on with it. It's not difficult. So we will leave you now, I think our time is up, with a lot of hope in harnessing the positive side of this, and inshallah, we hope that we can reverse the air pollution and the climate degradation that we face today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.